Big Daddy here with another video in the series of customizing KDE Plasma 5. So in the last video we were in desktop behavior and we finished that. So we're off to window management. And in window management, the first thing you come to is window behavior, and the first tab is focus. Now before I get started, these settings are really deep and detailed, and I am surely not an expert at every single one of them. I can give you an overview of them, just like I said before, but you know, if I don't get every little detail perfect, just know that I'm not an expert, and through all this whole series I've been learning myself through everybody commenting on the videos. So if you have any comments, post them so that we can all learn. And the other thing is, again, all of these settings count on each other to be checked. So, you know, these settings depend on some settings out in the other settings to work, to be at default in order to work the way they say they work. So with that disclaimer out of the way, let's move on. So let me open a few windows here to... and if you've seen one of the other videos I made and Kwrite went under the panel, that was very great. That's all I'm going to say. But I had to actually make a window rule in the special application settings so that it didn't do that. Imagine that. KDE sometimes has a tendency to act up. So, all right. So the normal action for most operating systems is click to focus, where you click it and it raises the window. But KDE is, well, it's the settings king. And not only do they let you change that, but they separate the focus from the actual raising of the window. They act like or make settings that they are two separate things. So you would normally think that raising of the window and focusing on the window would be the same thing. And it normally is in normal operations, but they allow you to separate them so you could just focus without raising the window. So that's the normal operation. The next click up here in the policy is click to focus mouse precedence. Now you got to understand, this is, as this says, it's unusual, but a possible variant of click to focus. The only difference between this and this setting is when you're on a window and you say you go to this one and you were going to close this out. Normal operation would be that this window would come back, the last window used would come back as the main window with the focus. But the only difference is when you close this, it picks the window underneath the mouse to gain focus. Now it doesn't follow the focus of the mouse all over. It just, when a window closes, it picks the one that's underneath it to start out with. So as it says, it's unusual, but you know, not sure why that's there, but hey, glad to have extra settings. So the next setting would be focus follows the mouse. Okay, think of click to focus just without actually having to click. All right, so same situation, same scenario where if you're here, you go here and you close this one, it will follow the focus of what's under the mouse, but it will also gain focus where I could actually type in Kwrite and it would allow me to type. Now the only scenario that I could think of that this would be useful for is if, say, I was writing a paper on these settings in this box, and if I actually came over here to type, it would cover half the window. So I could have it to where I could see most of the window of typing, I could see most of this window, and I could actually type what's going on here and still be able to see all of this. So that would be the application scenario that this would work for, but most people are not going to use that. All right, the next one is probably to me is the one of two only settings that are really extremely useful for this. So you'll notice that raise on hover gets ungrayed out. Yeah, ungrayed out. Yeah, it gets where it's not grayed out anymore. Okay, so this follows the mouse precedent. So this setting and the click to focus are pretty much the only two that I would say normal users would use. It's not like these other settings are bad, it's just they're not for everybody. So it follows the focus of the mouse. Wherever it goes, it is if you want a hover controlled focus. Now, again, like I said, it's not going to bring the window up unless we change some of these settings here, because it's breaking down the difference between focus and raising of the window. So this is a setting where you would uncheck click raises active window, and it still is not going to do anything until you raise on hover, and then this will be grayed out because that's exactly what you want. You want to have a hover controlled focus, raise on hover, which means it's going to focus on and raise whatever window you're over. Okay, so yeah, that's basically your two options, because you know what? The next two options, if you take notice, it's focus under mouse, but there's a notice here. Focus stealing prevention and the tab box, alt tab, contradict the policy and will not work. So, you know what I mean? Like, these are dependent on other settings out there, and the other settings are dependent on this setting. So if you start using this, then your alt tab might not work, and you know what I mean? Like, this is where the settings are so deep you might mess something up. All right, and the same with the last one. It is really follows the focus of the mouse, blah 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 blah, but it's going to break things. Okay, so these are probably not settings you're going to want to use. All right, so that's that. Now, the focus stealing prevention, to be honest with you, I'm not exactly sure what the focus stealing prevention does, unless it's in one of these policies down here where, well, let's uncheck that and see what it does. I don't know what the focus stealing prevention does, so there's no explanation of what it does, but its default is low, so that's where I'm going to leave it. I'm going to put this on raise to hover, but I don't want the instant raise to hover, because you know, sometimes I go a little bit too far. Like if I'm over here, I go a little bit too far. That would be enough to drive me nuts. So I'm going to raise this up to 500, and that only does the raise on hover delay. So it'll still get focus immediately, but then it will raise the hover. The delay will be on raise to hover. So I really want to delay this one as well to 500 milliseconds. And that way there is a full delay on both raising and focus. And that way if I go like this and I make a mistake, I'm not raising the window constantly. All right, so those are the settings in the click to focus policy. Now, down here you have separate screen focus, and if anybody knows what this does, you can let me know, because I'm not sure what it does. Just like the focus stealing prevention, I don't see a difference anywhere. I mean, I'm sure there's a specific difference for it and a specific application. I'm just not sure what it is. So the active screen follows mouse. Now, this is a setting that one of the YouTubers, George James, who commented on another video of one that I made, that I was having problems with Plasma where I have a dual monitor setup and I would open Windows, and every second or third window I would open, it would open on the secondary monitor. So he suggested that I come in here and check this, and it would fix some of the problems. Well, lo and behold, I come in, I check it, and it fixed all of my problems as far as having windows appear on the secondary monitor. Now they always appear whatever screen I'm on. So yes, if my mouse is over the secondary monitor, it will appear over there, but 99.9% of the time I'm on the primary monitor when I'm opening Windows, so it appears on the primary monitor. So I want to thank George, and this is why I said where we all learn, and hey, like I said, I learn something new every day. All right, that's it for the focus. So next is the title bar actions. Now, the title bar, I take off the maximize button. It's because you can double click the title bar, and like that, and it will maximize the window. Now you can switch the wheel event around on the title bar as well. So you can change the opacity of something. You can maximize. So let's change the opacity. So if I'm on a window and I do the wheel event, if I scroll my wheel, I can change the opacity from transparent to nothing. So not that I use the changing opacity, I'm just showing you what you can do. Now you can do this, which is shade and unshade, and well, it's okay, I guess. If you want to see the desktop real quick, it basically rolls up like a shade any window except the actual title bar at the top. So it's still there, it's just rolled up like a shade. Huh. Alright, so the title bar and frame. Now, this is where the left button obviously wait, standby. I gotta go back to focus and make this click to focus or it's gonna drive me up a wall. Okay, I'm back now. I'm good. Now, this is for the active window. These settings are for inactive, these settings are for the active window. So when you're on an active window and you hit the left button, it will raise it. When you hit the right button, it will do the operations menu. So this is the operations menu here. And if you remember in the window borders where I take off the maximize, I also take off the menu button. Because, and the reason why is because this is here. You don't need the menu button when you can right click on the menu and get to this menu here. This is the menu you get to when you click that button. So that's why I take that off. All right, so the inactive window, when say Dolphin is behind the window you're on, you can activate and raise when obviously that's the default thing. When you click on it, it's going to activate it and raise it. The right click button, you can have it do the same thing. You can have it, well, we'll just do this. We'll have it minimize. So now on an inactive window on the title bar, I can right click and it will minimize that window. All right, moving on, you have the maximize button, which I take off, but most people leave on. If you have the maximize button, when you left click on it, it's obviously going to maximize it. But if you middle click on the maximize button, it will maximize it vertically. And if you right click on the maximize button, then it will maximize it horizontally. These are the default settings. So you can change them around the way you want, but that's what they do. All right, off to window actions. So this is for the inactive inner window. So the left, this is the inner window of the inactive window. Man, these settings are deep. Okay, so you have the scroll wheel obviously scrolls, and the right button activates and pass clicks, which means it's not going to raise the window, it's just going to pass click, so you can actually get to the right click menu of the inactive window and not raise it. Activate and raise and pass click is the left button. Okay, now that doesn't exactly do what it says so right now it's doing nothing. Okay, but you actually have to click on the title bar in order for it to activate and raise, or should I say sometimes? But it's definitely not the pass click. Okay, it's a Big Daddy video. What do you want? All right, moving on to the inner window title bar frame, which is this area up here. Now, in these settings, you must hit the modifier key, which is Alt, in order for any of these to work. So it's Alt plus, and you can change that to the meta, but it's Alt plus. So Alt plus the mouse left button will allow you to move it around. Alt plus the right button will allow you to resize the window. And the wheel does nothing, but let's see, we could well, let's do the shade, and we'll shade it up. So you hit Alt and you scroll it up. Okay, so that's what you can do with inactive windows. Moving on, get it? Moving on. Windows, display window geometry when moving or resizing. So basically that gives you the coordinates of the pixel display on your desktop as you're moving a window. So let me get out of KWrite here because we don't need that anymore. And if we click this, now when we hold and drag, you can see the XY coordinates of where it is on the, and also when you resize the window too, it will give you the height and the width on the window and the position that it's in. So if you need that, there it is. I don't need that, but I'm just saying it's there. Now the snap zones, the border snap zone and the window snap zone, I'm not exactly sure if that's the snap zones for that. So that's at 10 pixels. Let's see what this does here. Let's do, just to see what it does, see if there's any difference in anything. We will do the 30 pixels. Yeah, see, it's definitely farther out now to actually grab the focus of the window. You don't have to go all the way over. There's like, come all the way out to here, basically. So that's up to you how far you want it, but I'm going to leave it on 10 because I don't want it to, I don't need it out that far. Well, what am I going? I'm going backwards. What the? All right, we're just going to do 10. And the center snap zone, there is no center snap zone because it just does the whole window. Okay. Snap windows only when overlapping. No, we're going to leave that unchecked. Okay. So then you have advanced, and this is for shading and enable hover. Now, I'm not sure exactly what the shading does. So let's see here. I don't know what the shading does. So we're just going to skip that. If anybody knows what the shading does, that's great. Okay, so for window tabbing, you can automatically group similar windows, and I believe this is for, I'm not sure if it's for Alt-Tab or not, but okay, we'll leave that alone. We'll act like we talked about that, and we'll move on. All right, so placement is what I usually do for this is centered. You can have every window maximized. You can have them cascade. You can have them smart placement, which is basically it picks an open spot on your screen at random to the smart way of placing the windows. But I like all my windows centered, so that's where I'm going to have them. All right, hide utility windows for inactive applications. I'm not sure what that does, so we're going to move on. All right, task switcher. So I don't think, man, this is going to be long. I think I'm going to end it right there because otherwise it's going to be way, way, way too long. So in the next video, that is the Windows behavior. In the next video, we'll talk about task switcher and window roles. But until that time, Big Daddy out.